we just have to say Win with Dice, the roundest table, and our names. Like,
Sure. All right, I'm gonna start. I'll do a countdown, and then we're good to go. Are you ready?
wait. Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Win with Dice Roundest Table podcast. This is our gaming podcast where we just chat about our favorite games and stuff like that. Right now, it's just me and Rahman. Deanna's not here right now, so we decided we were going to do some chats about DMing in games, like Pathfinder, Starfinder, all that kind of stuff. Just basically questions about how we run games and what goes into it. So first things first, preparation. So Rahman, like, how do you prepare for a game?
Well, it depends what game and like who I'm running it for, I guess. Like, if the game is spawned off of something that like I envisioned in my mind, I like spend a lot of meticulous time kind of researching a whole bunch of stuff, I guess.
Like
Usually
setting, like setting stuff? Or?
Yeah. Well, it's like I guess I use like pre-written adventures a lot to try and figure out how to get those into some sort of like a series of events that leads into like a plot that I like.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of modifying pre-written adventures, or at least like maybe making a world big enough where these pre-written adventures can just exist and be by themselves. And if the players happen to run across them, then these events will just happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do something similar with one of my other groups. It's sort of based on like, again, these pre-made adventures, but I try to fit them into the world that like I have created, rather than using these modules like specific setting and rules. Well, not rules so much as just those characters. I'll sometimes bring in my own characters and then try to work those into other stories if I try to bring in like other modules.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I don't even think I even bring in all other characters. I just use the module pretty much as is. But I think I may include like a special location or something that doesn't actually exist. Let's say if it comes with a map or something like that. Like, I know that map or whatever they're showing you is a smaller part of a larger picture.
Right.
So, yeah. I also, one of my biggest things is combat. Like, I'm a big tactical combat guy. That's like one of the reasons why I love Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games, because of that drama of combat. I love that stuff. So I spend like a lot of time, I guess, like thinking about cool monsters and cool tactics and cool combinations of enemies.
Like things you can play within the environment to make combat itself more interesting as well, right?
Or even just like pairings of monsters, man. Like, it doesn't even have to be. You can make a really strong encounter with good tactics and varying monsters and abilities. Honestly.
Okay. I guess that sort of leads into our next question here, which is like if your games are more reliant on combat or role playing. And which do you think you lean into more?
You start with this one, man.
Okay. I think I'm a bit combat heavy in some of my home games. I've been trying to bring a bit more RP in. I think I'm a bit more balanced when it comes to Renegades of the Drift. Trying to have some combat and some role playing in each session, just to get a bit of both in there. But what I would really like to do more is try to add more role playing in each individual combat section or each individual fight. Try to make each battle more interesting by the type of enemies that are there, giving them certain special abilities that or something that work. They function according to the game rules, but they also serve sort of a narrative purpose. So, like, an enemy will have a certain ability that's unique to it, and then that allows me to do something with the narrative.
Yeah, right. So it's like, I don't know. I think I think I'm pretty balanced in terms of combat and role playing, but I'm not too sure. I just do a cycle where it's like if we do combat, then the next part is role playing, and then after role playing, it's combat again. Like I just do that up and down, and that rhythm seems to be working. And no one seems to be complaining. So
yeah, kind of like an ebb and flow. It's just like you don't have too much of one, not too much of the other, but they sort of complement each other.
Yeah, because in my opinion, like if you're actively doing something in the world, there's probably someone trying to stop you, or the world is dangerous. Traveling is dangerous. You should always be aware of what might be around the next bend, kind of deal.
Exactly. So when it comes to combat, do you prefer doing tabletop stuff or more like theater of the mind kind of thing? You were mentioning how you like the tactical gameplay. So
Right.
When you're able to, do you prefer being able to do something that you're able to have like a map out with miniatures and everything?
Yeah, I mean that would be ideal if every situation where I can drop a battle mat and get the tiles out, get the miniatures out, get the whole kit and caboodle. Like
Right, yeah. It's just like
It's
sometimes
fun.
there's like limitations of space and location and
Yeah.
all that, but
yeah, I mean, and like maybe not all the time, but like I think I've done in my I guess experience, I've done like pretty much 50-50. Like I think when we first started playing D&D way back in like high school, it's like we played with a grid like all the time. We'd get those giant grid sheets, like a big pad, and just like keep drawing on maps and stuff like that. Like, and eventually I played with a group in Waterloo during university, and half of it was theater of the mind, and half of it we had like a giant whiteboard we drew on. So like it's slowly like kind of whenever it allows us, or like the space allows us, or maybe even like the scale of the combat allows us to use minis on the grid. I always love using minis on the grid.
do you find the number of players sort of affects that as well? Because like me personally, when I'm playing with you in Vienna, that's just a couple of people. And I think maybe up to like 3 or 4, I could just do theater of the mind, right? But my other game, that's like 6 people. And for me to try to keep track of all of those people and then all of my NPCs, some of which might be hiding or something, I mean, you would want to map with that, right? Just so you have like that spatial awareness of who is where at any point in time.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like that's it depends how much stuff you want to track as a DM, because sometimes it's like sometimes I could do it without a map. Maybe if I drew out something before, or like last time we played in our home game, and you guys had that epic clash on the bridge. It's like all I had was a picture of a bridge on the screen, and I just kind of based on that and where like all the where like I remembered where all the enemies were, and I could tell the story, because you guys basically like you just went from one side of the bridge to the other, so like
Yeah,
storytelling
pretty
was
much.
pretty easy. Yeah, and just have, it depends how you your combats as well, and like how engaged your players are. I think that like if you're in a large group and people stop paying attention a little bit, maybe like if the rounds take a little long to get back to their turn, they kind of forget what's going on. If the tension isn't high enough, then they might lose where they are, and you might lose where they are, and that's when you lose that connection with the PCs.
Yeah, that's just one of those things that I was a little worried about, like with a larger group, is just trying to keep everyone engaged, especially during combat where everyone's taking their time to go through a round, and then the NPCs are going and all of that.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I mean, like the I think because we did, you weren't there for that game, but we had another encounter with the hobgoblins. The first time they saw them, and they were attacked on the road. I had a whole road map out and everything like that. But now thinking about it, I probably could have done that game like perfectly fine without a map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how strict would you say you are with like rules in the game? Like me personally, especially with Starfinder, just because it's our first time and there's a bit of flubbing, I keep forgetting those cover rules, but I'm kind of a little more loose with them. like for me, when it comes to issues with the rules, where it's just like if something is like if it's confusing or if there's some sort of issue, I would rather come up with a quick but fair solution rather than go to look through it, because I feel like when you're looking through the book for a rule, you're slowing and stopping the game, right? And I would rather just say, okay, for now, let's do this, and then check it out later at some point. We're not in the middle of a game, unless it's something like very critical where a character might be down from a certain attack or whatever. I would rather just say, let's do this for now, or just roll a check like that for now, and then we can move on and continue, I guess, playing the game. But how strict would you say you are when it comes to following the rules?
I guess well, as long as everyone's still having fun, right? That's the biggest issue. It's like I don't want a rule to impede my fun or my players' fun. Obviously, like the entire thing is like it's supposed to be a challenge, right? But like I can think of so many times where we've forgotten something or a rule doesn't quite work this way, but dramatically it works this way. So I'm always if it works in favor of the drama and it works in favor of the fun, then
sure.
like screw the rule, right? Like let's make it happen.
Yeah, like
tons of times.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No. I was just saying, like, I would rather go with what's narratively interesting than what's rules accurate. I think the rules are just there to sort of support the game. They're the base in this. I don't know what's a good metaphor for this. They're based in this cake, I guess. But the narrative is what makes it interesting. The narrative is the icing.
Yeah, I mean, like Disney's just kind of like a loose set of rules to represent like you know the real world back in fantasy medieval land.
Yeah.
Right. Like I could, you know, there's just like tons of stuff where it's just like it's cool if your character wants to like swing on a rope and like swashbuckle sword flourish some guy, disarm them, and then land. But like in the rules, it's like doing all those things all at the same time isn't really viable in terms of like the action economy or something like that. But like screw the rules, that sounds awesome. Let's see if you could do it.
Exactly. So what would you say is a good length for a session? I think that just depends on the number of people you have, right?
Yeah, but it really depends. I mark my sessions on content, I guess. I kind of figure out, like at least probably by like the second session, I kind of know how it takes a party to get something done, and every party is different. Mm-hmm. I know that I'm trying to cut down my time because I know some people I'm trying to play with right now, they want a shorter session, and then getting that in to be like maybe like an hour and a half is like I'm not really sure what you could actually do in an hour and a half. It really in everybody's flow, right? Like how quickly you're going to move through the content I've prepared and stuff like that, right? But I would say my lengths of my session usually are 3 hours to 4 hours. I would push it to like 5, 6 if like we're getting close to like the finale or some sort of like, you know, the crescendo of like whatever's happening in the story, right?
Yeah. I mean, like those like having really long sessions that you can get a lot done in. I think there's part of me that likes that, but now that I'm kind of running games more, part of me also finds it exhausting. But
it is very exhausting.
I mean, it's still entirely worth it if again everybody's like having fun with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell if a session is dragging out if the players aren't into it and you're not really feeling it. But like, I think again, going back to that epic bridge fight, hopefully I get a write up for that soon. I mean, in like a month, but it took such a long, that one fight took such a long time. Like we probably spent like an hour just getting to know a new character that showed up, and then that fight took the rest of the night, and that was like 5 hours, right? I mean, the entire session was probably like 5 hours, so probably did like 3 and a bit hours of like, no, it's too much, 2 and a bit hours of doing that fight. But it was a big fight. It was the final fight of like that kind of section, and I didn't even notice the time fly by, man. Like,
yeah, it was a good session though.
Yeah, right. So everyone kind of came out happy, even though it was really late, but they did it.
Here's a general, just like, what kind of bad guys or plots or stories do you like to put in your game? Do you have sort of a preference for where you go with that, or what direction your story is going?
Well, it depends on the game, I guess. It's weird. It's like most of the final bad guys, I guess, are like these like guys have been like following the PCs, and like they're like you've never even seen these dudes because they're so badass. Like even if they showed up in the little town the PCs are, like they'll just destroy them right away, right?
Yeah.
You have to build up to that, so it's like it's hard to find a good final boss, in my opinion. I mean, it has to be something that kind of embodies like the whole journey, like kind of like a anthropomorphic representation of like the challenges the PCs have to face.
Yeah, so you're thinking like it has to be a character that has sort of a relationship of some sort with the player characters then. Like even just like an adversarial one, someone that the player characters have been seeing, or at least seeing parts of within the shadows.
Yeah, I mean, like I hear a name here and here, like maybe like if you see his minion or like a clone or like a psychic projection of him or something, you know what I mean? Some little tidbits, like how the Emperor showed up in Star Wars, like Star Wars New Hope, right? It's like you just saw the hologram of the dude, right? You had no clue who it was, but it's like, wow, this guy must be like the big bad of the entire plot, right?
Yeah, he's gonna be real serious.
Yeah, right. So, I think if the campaign or the session or like the bit or like the small collection of games or whatever you are playing, in my opinion, a good bad guy is a good representation of all the challenges and all like the plot points, all of those story elements put together, all wrapped up into a person.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good way of seeing it. Just because, especially when you're coming into something that's like an end game of a story, you want it to feel like a culmination of that journey, right? I mean, I was trying to think of an answer to this, but I don't know if I've run any individual thing long enough to have like a idea of what a final bad guy should be. I have concepts, but nothing I've really put into practice. As far as like plots go, I think given what we're doing with Renegades, this sort of Guardians of the Galaxy-esque game, and the previous superhero game in Mutants and Masterminds that I ran, that was sort of Suicide Squad-esque. I think I have sort of a taste for somewhat good criminal types, but other than that, I don't know. I guess as far as bad guys, though, I kind of want to like lay out sort of just like a sense that there's something larger looming in the distance, some sort of larger entity or group or characters there in the distance, and maybe over time sort of develop those so that again the PCs sort of they want to fight these guys because there's that adversarial relationship there's that rivalry there, or that arch villain there. So I think that about covers it. Just sort of our tastes for DMing and what kind of things we like to do and what we do to prepare for a game. I mean, like I only have like a handful of games under my belt right now, but I'm trying to just figure out. I think I'm just trying to get better at like guessing not exactly what players want to do, but just getting better at sort of reading the table, I guess the best term is. Just to get a sense of like what's really engaging people, what they might not be interested in, and just reading a group and getting a good sense of what a group is into. Is there any other sort of DM thing that you're working on, or?
I think I'm getting better at at least I'm trying to get better at maybe not planning so much. I do tend to get kind of obsessed with things, but
Sure.
Kind of rack myself trying to fit a plot point in somewhere and make it make sense in the world. But sometimes it honestly, yeah, it would just be like a 5-minute thing for the players anyway. So that's just my problem I need to get rid of. So I need to work on I guess my what's it called? My improvisation.
Improvisation.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that about covers it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was interesting. I think that was an interesting talk. Maybe if you're listening to this, just drop a comment about sort of any of your experiences with DMing or GMing or running any sort of RPG game, or even if you haven't tried it before, or maybe what you think your first experience would be like, or something that you think would be important for a DM to do when they're running a game. You want to start a conversation with us, you can do it over on our Win With Dice Facebook page. We're at Win With Dice on Twitter, or you can send us an email to winwithdice@gmail.com. Just drop a line and let us know maybe what other topics you want to hear us discuss, or any other games you might want to see us play. Ramon, you have anything you want to say before we sign off?
No, I'm good. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Okay, folks, thanks for watching, and we will be catching y'all next time. Later days.